Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I love that. So the professor in me here is looking at this whole side over here, and it's like, why are none of the students sitting over there? But I think it's okay. It's going to be okay. I like that everyone is concentrated together. So welcome. I'm Dr. Megan Walsh, Dean and Campus Director here at UMM. And I want to welcome you to the grand opening of the remodeled Reynolds Center basketball gym. I know, yeah! So, at this time, I'd like to invite everyone to please stand as you're able for the national anthem. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Karen Beeftink, Associate Professor of Recreation and Tourism Management, to join me at the podium and read the land acknowledgement.
The University of Maine at Machias recognizes that it is located in the homeland of the Passamaquoddy tribe, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Passamaquoddy homeland is connected to the other Wabanaki tribal nations, the Penobscot, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq, through kinship, alliances, and diplomacy. The university also recognizes that the Passamaquoddy tribe and the other Wabanaki tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beeftink. And also I'd like to add that earlier today I had the privilege of seeing Dr. Beeftink do a cartwheel in this space just to test the floor is what she said. She didn't say, I'm doing this to show off. She said, I'm doing this to test the floor. So it was tested. I'd like to begin by recognizing the people who are here on the stage with me this afternoon, on the court with me this afternoon. President of the University of Maine and the University of Maine at Machias, and University of Maine System Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation, Joan Freeney-Mundy. The principal of Machias Memorial High School and incoming superintendent of AOS 96 and UMM graduate, Nicole Case. Elsie Larson, Associate Professor Emerita of Business Administration at UMM and famed local pianist. And Richard Larson, Associate Professor Emeritus of Business Administration and former student athlete faculty advisor. And I also would like to draw attention to, draw attention to some of our guests here today. We have members of the UMaine Machias Board of Visitors with us. The town manager is here. Members of the UMaine and UMaine Machias President's Cabinet. Representatives from the UMaine Foundation, which also serves UMaine Machias. UMaine Machias staff and faculty members. UMaine Machias alumni, and most importantly, current UMaine Machias students. Yeah, we're clapping for the students. So, as we gather here today, I'm reminded of the remarkable career of Frederick A. Reynolds, president of UMaine Machias from 1981 until 1992. And this building, of course, bears his name. President Reynolds was born in Machias, attended this institution when it was Washington State Normal School, and returned to teach physical education and history here for years. Less well known is the fact that he served as Vice President of Student Affairs and then as Dean of Academic Affairs. He was a student, he was a leader, a coach, and a professor. He embodied the many facets of our exceptional coastal campus. And he recognized an important fact. Gymnasiums are also spaces of active learning, places where people learn about themselves and each other. Gyms are places where individuals set and achieve goals, where people work together with others as a team, and they celebrate wins and mourn the losses of others when they watch games. Gyms are places that bring people together and build community. So, although President Reynolds' story is one of the most well-known, he's only one of the many, many people who have brought student life and student learning together on this campus. Since we began this gym project last year, I've learned so much about the history of this space. I've learned about Clipper basketball and volleyball. There's some great pictures in the conference room if you haven't seen those. I've heard about incredible coaches, about leaders who taught students to overcome challenges and build lifelong friendships. I've gotten to meet some of the many high school students who come here regularly after school ends to shoot hoops with their friends. I've listened as the UMaine Machias Intramurals Group, the student organization, shared with me details of the activities they organize for this space. Right? Yeah. I've met with students from our academic program in outdoor recreation and leadership who've told me about the class sessions they attended in this gym. And Dr. Beeftank has told me about the class activities she is now planning for this space. She tells me no shuffleboard in the gym, which is good. Finally, I've seen the incredible patience and care for future students that our current seniors have had during this long period of construction, so thank you. And I've also gotten to learn about a network of dedicated staff, business owners, craftspeople, and engineers who live and work here in Machias. Together, this group brought a vast knowledge of floor engineering, graphic design, NCAA regulations, humidity control, sound systems, and many other mechanical functions to bear on this space, to make it better for users in the years ahead. I now want to call out a few of the many people whose talent and time were invaluable. At UMaine Machias, I would like to thank the members of our staff and faculty who have helped make this project a reality, Sarah Abernethy in my office, who spent countless hours inviting and organizing, Lindsay McMahon and her staff here in this building have tirelessly adjusted athletics, sports, and activity schedules and answered questions about the project timeline. And of course, a very, very big thank you to Barney Perry and to Danielle Warmel and every single member of our facilities and maintenance crew. I think I see Heather up there somewhere. There you are. Yeah, there you are. Who takes care of this building. They've gone above and beyond the usual excellence over this past few weeks. Thank you. Let's applaud them. Let's applaud all those people. our staff was guided here on campus and supported by members of UMaine and the University of Maine system teams. And I especially want to call out a few people. Kelly Sparks, Vice President for Finance. John Diamond, whose title I can't remember right now, but helps me with lots of things. Ryan Ward, Stuart Harvey, Josh Burke, Walter Shannon, and Patrick Decker. And Patrick Decker brought a guest, which is extra appreciated. Where are you, Patrick? I can't even see you. Hi, Patrick. Patrick really, Patrick deserves a round of applause. Can we just? And then also, understanding how to build an NCAA floor required help from UMaine Athletics. So thank you especially to Jude Killey, the athletics director, and members of your team, especially Eric Stoop. So I'd also like to thank the businesses who have contributed to the remodel of this gym. Hanscom Construction, who removed the old floor. Huntley Heating and Plumbing, who came to the rescue with their forklift to unload that new flooring. It turned out we didn't have a forklift. Sullivan's Flooring, who installed the new floor. Roof Systems of Maine, who did various roof repairs. Oniontown Builders, who completed soffit and fascia repairs. Seriously, I've never been so excited about soffit and fascia repairs in my entire life. But when you exit this building, please look up because it's miraculous. Machias Glassworks, who installed the new exterior doors. Sherwin-Williams Paint in Calais, from whom we bought this paint. Walter Stanley and Sons, who painted these walls over several weeks and even worked a weekend for us. Robert H. Lord Company, who installed the Hussey bleachers on which you're sitting. Sullivan and Merritt Construction, who installed the winches for the basketball hoops. Bronson Audio and Visual, who installed this very sound system. And Border Electric, who added these LED lights and did all the electrical work for this room. And they were even here early this morning to make sure those two exit signs were installed properly. They are. So truly, our contractors are some of the most dedicated people I've ever met, and I've never been so excited about contractors as I am today. So I know as I look out at this group that I'm forgetting people, and I'm very, very sorry. So let's just do one more round of applause as a thank you for everyone who I've neglected to mention. I see you. So I'm so grateful to you for reminding me that a gymnasium is also a space of learning, not just a place to exercise. It's not just a place to shoot a basketball, although that's important, but it's also a place where you can build community in the act of building a space. So thank you for all of that. Now I'd like to welcome Nicole Case, principal of Machias Memorial High School. Nicole.
As recently as 3 seconds ago, I was still asking myself why I was here speaking today. Because when I first joined the Board of Visitors not too long ago, I think it's fair to say I was the yeah but green, go Clippers kind of person. I've struggled with this, I'm not gonna lie. But when I walk into this beautiful space and I reflect on the fact that an hour ago I left the high school and I could hear the kids in the hallway going, 4 o'clock, meet me up to the UMM. They're opening the gym. You know, it might be what we had to do because I think this space will be used and enjoyed by our students today. Earlier this year, I asked my youngest son if he'd like a UMM membership for his birthday. He said, don't bother, the gym's closed. I probably wouldn't use it enough. He went on to send me a link for some pricey electronic device or whatever. This past Monday, though, he soaked me for $350 because the gym's going to open and I need a membership. Money well spent, in my opinion. For as long as I can remember, the UMM gym has been a desirable place for teenagers. this pains me, but 40 years ago as a freshman in high school, we looked forward to playing in the DAC tournament at UMM, right? We always played in our own gyms the rest of the year, and then we came here for the big games, and it was a big deal. It was a chance to see students from other high schools around the county. We weren't quite as mobile as people are today, I guess, and so it was pretty special. We would drive over here. We'd also watch college basketball games here. A dear friend of my family's was honored with the Henry Noonan Invitational Round Robin. They always did this in the gym to train preseason the volleyball refs. So the kids would all gather here for that tournament. We spent so much time in this gym, it seemed only natural that we would go to school here, and many of us did. My own children spent much of their youth in this gym. My oldest son, AJ, and his friends would meet here for pickup basketball games or indoor soccer. My daughter, Tate, would come here with her dad and shoot 100 foul shots every single day. She went on to play women's basketball for UMM, and she scored her 1,000th collegiate point from the foul line, right over there. Just watching the video again. That was back in 2020. I'm currently the principal at Machias Memorial High School, and you need to know that this facility, and more specifically this gym, still means the world to our students. Teenagers have changed, but they haven't changed that much. Outside of the school day, the UMM gym is pretty much the only place many of them have face-to-face interactions with their peers. Otherwise, they're doing what we all are, right? They're just scrolling, but they come here and they make eye contact and they interact. They do still crave that. They just don't know how else to do it without something like this. This is a place where students are safe and their parents feel comfortable allowing them to be here. This gym is a healthy environment where students strengthen their bodies and develop their minds. During his freshman year, one of my students was missing a lot of school. And so I called Rose Gaffney and spoke with the vice principal and said, what's up? His attendance is off. Has this been a problem in 8th grade? Chad Fitzsimmons laughed. And he said, have you looked up to UMM? And so in the middle of the school day, I hop in my car and I come up here, and lo and behold, there's Mr. O'Connor in the gym shooting hoops during the school day. I worked together with Lindsay and Mandy Anderson, and we kind of came up with a plan, and I'd get the call, hey, he's here. We'd come get him. We've got it all worked out now. But today I asked him, can I use your name? And Liam smiled and said, yes, I'm infamous. But the staff here knew dedication when they saw it, because eventually they just hired him to work out at the front desk. And so that worked out pretty well. Just to close, the University of Maine at Machias gym is a place that brings students together. It's much loved and appreciated, and it's blue, not green, and we're adjusting, and I think it's okay. Thank you for prioritizing a place that is central to the lives of our youth.
Thank you, Principal Case. Excuse me, I was actually looking around to see if young Liam O'Connor was around, and I don't see him. No, he's in school, he's in class. Good. He is infamous. So at this time, I'd like to invite President Farini Mundy. President Farini Mundy, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Isn't this fantastic? Aren't you just really tempted to have a big basketball game right now with all of us? Wouldn't that be good? It's really an honor to be here today with all of you as we celebrate the grand reopening of the Reynolds Center Gym. And as you've been hearing, this space has long been a hub of activity, some of it sanctioned, some of it not apparently. But thanks to the teamwork and community spirit that all of you bring, it's opening again, and we're very grateful for the generosity and dedication of so many. All of those who were thanked, I'd like to echo my thanks. This will now serve generations to come here in Machias. I want to express my gratitude to everybody who played a role in making this renovation a reality. To our facilities team, our local business partners, and our generous supporters, thank you for your vision and for your commitment to this project. And to our students, staff, faculty, and community members, your enthusiasm and your belief in this university inspire all of us who are associated with it every day. The University of Maine at Machias is much more than just a place of learning. And in many ways, as I've come to understand the very important relationship that the state of Maine has with basketball in particular, I think it's really wonderful that this is the place where we have another chance today to talk about community, because it's happening in a place where basketball will happen. This is a place of belonging. It's a place where people come together to grow, to challenge themselves, to support one another, and to be part of a community that is truly unique. And it's been wonderful in my 7 years as president to get to know and to grow with this community as I come to understand the deep commitments that you have to one another, to making sure that folks are supported and that they're able to succeed. And this becomes a symbol for how that can happen in yet another space here on this wonderful university campus. It's a space where our students will push themselves to new heights, where our community will come together to celebrate, and where we'll continue to foster the values of perseverance, teamwork, and excellence. I would like to thank the 128th Maine Legislature and voters statewide for their support in 2018 of a bond for the University of Maine system that made this project possible. In particular, I would like to recognize the incredible work that Representative Will Toole did in making this bond a reality. I don't believe he is here, but let's give a round of applause for his great dedication here. I'd like to thank my colleagues in the system, particularly Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration Ryan Lowe and Chief External and Governmental Affairs Officer Sam Warren, for helping to lead the efforts to pass that bond in the State House and at the ballot box. I would also like to give thanks to the University of Maine Alumni Association and the University of Maine Foundation for helping to lead the overall fundraising efforts for the bond issue at that time. We're grateful to the legislature, to Governor Mills, and to the people of Maine for their ongoing commitment to UMaine Machias and to Maine's public universities. Now, I would like to invite Richard and Elsie Larson to Center Court. So, Richard and Elsie Larson, UMaine Machias Emeritus faculty members, have shown incredible generosity and dedication to this university and to Machias, the town that we call home. I need also to say that I've benefited personally very greatly from your counsel, from your wisdom, from your generous willingness to spend time and to support this university. And I can't tell you how helpful they both have been to me as we've navigated a transition that has been challenging for many people here to the place where we are today in our partnership between the University of Maine and the University of Maine at Machias. So I want to thank you for that. But your support most directly today made this remodel possible, and their commitment to strengthening both our campus and our community will be felt for years to come. In honor of their contributions, we are also proud to dedicate a space in their name, the Richard and Elsie Larson Conference Room, located right here in this building. This room will serve as a place for collaboration, learning, and connection, values that they embody and have embodied across their careers and their time with us here at the University of Maine Machias. Just as you've inspired us throughout your careers, that will continue in this space. So as we cut this ribbon, let us not only celebrate a newly renovated gym, but also the enduring strength of this university and the community that supports it and that indeed makes it a community here at the university. This is a place where we come together not just to compete, but to connect, not just to play, but to grow, and not just to watch, but to be part of something bigger than ourselves. So Chair Riley had intended to be here, but I'm going to actually, in her place, introduce a student trustee who happens to be a University of Maine at Machias student, Will Kemmler, and I'd like to thank you, Trustee Kemmler, for being here with us today. So Trustee Kemmler, Dean Walsh, Richard and Elsie, and students Don Picciuto and Will Kemmler in his student role, please also come forward to the ribbon cutting activity. Yes, come on up. He's a student and a trustee doing all of this. Okay, so now we go over and we cut the ribbon. Okay, so thank you all for being here today, for your continued support of the University of Maine at Machias, and for making this institution a place of opportunity, resilience, and community. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and unwavering support. That's for Richard and for Elsie, just amazing. And this community is stronger because of you. Back to Dean Walsh. It says here. Yes. Okay.
So I actually now would like to ask Professor Larson to please come up to the podium and share with us a few words. Please.
I first would like to thank the students patiently waiting to utilize the gymnasium. If it wasn't for students, we wouldn't be here. And so many times, I think protocol and my dignitaries receive recognition where it's the students that receive, I feel, the recognition. The floor will soon be yours. As stated, the University of Maine system, the legislation, and the voters have allowed us to be here today. A number of years ago, if it hadn't been for Bob Ferris, the director of physical plant, and Linda Patram, what Linda's gone through this week besides just being here at the university, we probably wouldn't be here either. The engineers from the University of Maine, myself, Bob Ferris, and others went through the entire rental center of the improvements that need to be made. It was not just the gymnasium. You're probably wondering why we have bleachers maybe just on this side over here. Thought has gone into this, I feel. Behind this wall is the locker rooms. A lot of work needs to be done there too. There's been talk about climbing ropes, rock climbing, etc., and so forth and so on. And also the entryway to the someday renovated locker rooms. So it makes a lot of sense not to have bleachers there right now. Also, this has been declared a disaster area relief if a hurricane or a tornado would go through. I have to give credit to Danielle Wormel. She has thought this through because there's extra space over there now where the bleachers were. So therefore, that would be a primary area to set up mats or locations for if there's a disaster in the area, so the community will have access to this building too. I also was approached by various people in the community, why are we renovating the floor when we don't have varsity sports? The decision was made in 2020. Remember when COVID was going on, decline in enrollment was going on, And this is how I got involved in funding back about 25 years ago. When the swimming pool was built, it was built as an enterprise account, not to receive E&G money. The president dedicated it in December, and he left Machias in January. You see, no operating budget was put up. At that time, monies were separate for athletics and the swimming pool. A lot of people in Machias were upset that we dropped varsity sports and that we were not properly funding the swimming pool back in 2020. I'm all for varsity sports. Maybe someday we can have them back. But when the budget was depleted to keep the swimming pool going, it created some challenges. Now the swimming pool is doing better because we're not putting money into athletics. I'm hoping that someday this can be turned around. Well, because of this situation, about 25 years ago, I was complaining about not properly funding athletics when I could see that money was being taken away for the swimming pool. So when you speak, you have to do something more than just speak. My wife and I have decided, since we don't have any children, the children at the University of Maine and Machias are our children. So we utilized our contributions, other than our TIA, sold some stocks. Sue Smith Palmer was very instrumental in assisting us in that area, Tom Potter, and if it would not be now for Sarah McPartland Good, we would not be able to do what we're doing now. Sarah has been tremendous in assisting in what we're doing, and we want to thank you, Sarah. Danielle Warmel, unbelievable behind-the-scenes individual. She's also a former basketball player. So she knows what needs to be done, and she takes care of details. The other day I walked in here, and I looked up and I said, what are these up here? I had no way of knowing that she was going to address the sound system at this point. A few years ago, or less than a few years ago, I would not be able to speak with this microphone because you would not hear a thing. You've been to basketball games and you've heard the starting lineup announced, and it was kind of difficult to hear who was playing. And so we're addressing that issue. Also, she's working on acoustics. You see, the bond issue was mainly to remove the bleachers and the floor. And if you know me, I look at the bigger picture. As I said, a lot of things need to be done. The lower gym needs to be addressed, the handball courts. And so this is a start. And of course, the soccer field, we were instrumental in renovating that a number of years ago. So I got nothing but good to say about working together. If it hadn't been for the University of Maine, we would not have this floor. I get very frustrated when I hear people around Machias criticizing the University of Maine, and all the University of Maine want to do is put blue instead of green. Wow, that bothers me. We're working together, and that's what it's all about. The word system needs to be utilized. The University of Maine appreciation, whether it's a black bear or a clipper, we need to work together. And so sometimes these things get in the way. I'm so optimistic where we're going. And this is a facility that can be utilized by everyone. And who knows, maybe there could be an ace flag here next year, playing a game. I'm sure you've heard of that name, Ace Flag. Need I say any more? I think most of you know Ace Flag. So there's a lot of things I could go on and say, but again, tremendous working together, and as President Joan Freeney Monday, it's been a pleasure working with her and moving this forward. And of course, Sarah Marie Abernathy, behind-the-scenes worker, what she has done to help pull this together. And Megan Walsh. Athletics. If it hadn't been for athletics in high school, I might not be here today. When I got to college, I learned quite quickly I wasn't that good as I thought I was. Changed my major from phys ed to economics and accounting. Wasn't that great of a student in high school because sports was what I was all about. But you have to realize when you grow older, sports doesn't keep you through everything. My wife selected the better end of it. She selected music and still practices music and often plays and will be playing in other activities. And she always plays for the college commencement, as you probably know. So more improvements need to be made, but wow, what a facility we have here. And it's going to be utilized by many individuals. And speaking of volleyball as well as basketball, Fran Plunkett Robinson, if it hadn't been for Fran Plunkett Robinson, volleyball would not be in the state of Maine. Washington County was the only location in the entire state that had volleyball, because Fran was on the staff here. She came from California before we did, was an instructor here. She got volleyball going. She was the volleyball coach and the basketball coach. And at one time we had 3 full-time coaches here. Keep in mind, years ago, they had required phys ed courses. I was not for it, but faculty and students decided that they don't need phys ed anymore. Coaches were helped finance somewhat by teaching phys ed courses. And so that got changed. And in the locker rooms, they still have cages for the students when they would change or shower when they were taking phys ed classes. And so, of course, renovations will be needed there, too, to change some of that. So there's a lot of reasons why some of the funding was changed, but we had tremendous athletics. Sarah Bonaventure, the volleyball coach, took us to the national tournaments. You've heard a lot about the soccer team going to national tournaments and the basketball team going to national tournaments, but our volleyball team did also. So we've been very successful in athletics at the University of Maine Machias, and yes, we're in the Reynolds Center. Fred Reynolds and myself enjoyed conversations. Some still refer to him as Coach Reynolds because he coached basketball here too. And before this facility was built, when we first came here, there still was a basketball hoop in the PAC. That was not bleachers. That was not seats like it is now. And of course, at one time, that was the place to play basketball. Where you go into the PAC, that was the Washington County basketball court. So, Fred Reynolds, I have a lot of conversations about athletics. I could go on, but time, of course, that's one of the disadvantages of being a former teacher. You allow us to speak, and we do speak. But we're here for the future of this institution, the University of Maine, working with the University of Maine / Machias. I'm so pleased that we're here today. So many need to be thanked, but I think we're only beginning. The future is ahead of us. Thank you very much for coming, and students, this will be your facility. Thank you.
Does everyone like that he refers to President Reynolds as Fred Reynolds? I love that, because you were good friends. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Richard and Elsie, for everything you've done for UMM, for everything you've done to get us here to this facility. We really, really appreciate it. So I want to thank everyone here as well for joining us today to celebrate this grand opening of this updated facility, the dedication of the Richard and Elsie Larson Conference Room, which you can go see out there in the lobby. And we invite you to join us for food and drink in the lobby and to speak more. Professor Larson said he could go on, and maybe you can catch him and he'll tell you so much about the history of this institution. So again, a round of applause for the Larsons and for everyone who helped make this a wonderful facility. Thank you. Okay, one final thing I almost forgot. It's not written in. Are you guys are you ready? Are you up for it? We need some, go on. Okay, so this is the first basketball action